GPR Detroit HD2.
You're watching WHPS, Highland Park, Detroit. The views and opinions expressed on the following show are not necessarily the views and opinions of WHPS, its affiliates, management, or sponsors.
My name is Watson.
And my name is Mariah.
We're 12 years old.
And we're representing Old Redford Academy Middle School. And we're here to talk about drugs. Drugs are very dangerous and unhealthy.
And they can also ruin a relationship with your loved ones.
Go talk to a family member, a friend, even a teacher, or you can go to a therapist, or if you need any extra help, you can go online and find all of those.
Hashtag not worth it.
Good day, good people. This is your host, a co-host for Expose Under the Sun, Heather Hetheru. My co-host, Darwin Griffin, will be with us next Tuesday. And on behalf of our executive director and producer, Sharon Dumas, we welcome you to our show today. Today, we are talking about, as always, community wellness. And in our studio with me today is my guest, Crystal L. Gunn, financial strategist, but amazing woman nevertheless. We're going to talk a little bit about her journey and have some really interesting and great tools and resources for families and communities that are building wealth and ways and strategies on which it can be done. And so I want to talk to you first about the challenge that we have on the table. So we are 3 months into our challenge of 10 ways to find your joy. And I talk about this at the start of our show because I think it's important that everyone have a pathway to finding your joy, because the opposite of joy is stress. And for so much happening in our world, in our community, in our families, we have to find a way to reset. And so one way to reset that I recommend as a personal change coach is finding your joy. And so that is one thing that you can do that will allow you to be able to do something for yourself. And so a lot of us find joy in what we do for others and giving and providing love and support and encouragement to others. But we also have to take that time and make that time for ourselves. We have to find our joy. And so when you find your joy, it's an area to reset. So I've talked about in these last couple of months, these last couple of weeks, I've talked about the ways that I found my joy. So one way for me was coloring. Actually, there are adult coloring books that have great scenes. They can be people, they can be animals, it can be nature. Whatever resonates with you, find that tool. Another is that I use music. Another way is that I use tea. I have massages. I get a Reiki treatment. I go for a walk. I sit still. I water my plants. I repot my soil. I do those things for myself to help me find joy. And those are easy to do things. It doesn't cost anything to find your joy. But if it does, for me, if you are a Blue Moon ice cream Superman eater, that's a perfect way to find my joy. That's something I do for me. So not often, but when I'm in a desperate attempt to find that joy, I go get Blue Moon ice cream.
Blue Moon ice cream.
Blue Moon ice cream. So I want to, make sure that our listeners have some ways to experience their joy, and then find some ways to reduce stress. So tell us, Crystal. Thank you again for being here.
Thank you for having me.
So tell us first, before you get into this great story about yourself, tell us about how you find joy. Give us a couple of things that you do to find joy.
So music, I don't know how to dance very well, but I will turn on the music. Just me in the house by myself dancing music. Going out, and I did this the other day, first time in a long time. And I went and got lunch, the day that it was like 68 degrees or something. And went out to Belle Isle and just watched the water.
Wow.
Yeah, it was super, super peaceful. I would say joy in working out every morning, but the way my legs feel right now, it's like, is that really a good space? And any of those self-care things. So just always the massages, facials, and literally just being able to laugh.
Yes.
Right.
Laughter.
Just being able to laugh and spending time. My daughter was home for spring break. And so with her, my mother, her cousins and my sister-in-law, just the laughter that we had on Sunday. So that always just lightens the load. So yeah, I agree that finding the joy, especially in the type of work that we do,
Right.
it's vital and important. So, but it's hard. It's difficult when you're so accustomed to doing for others, empowering others, and helping others get through their storms and to their next levels in life. To try to carve out time for yourself, you have to be really, really intentional. And sometimes it feels weird.
Yes, indeed.
Yeah.
Indeed. Givers have a hard time
Yes.
receiving as well. So in those spaces where people want to do some things for you too, we have to be more open. No, that's not necessary. And we're
Right.
good to do that.
Yes.
Givers are really good to reject being given too.
Right.
So we have to do better in being able to receive, because those are the seeds of your blessings coming back to you. So we have to
Absolutely.
remember that.
Yes.
So, Crystal L. Gunn.
Yes, ma'am.
Tell us tell us a little bit about you,
Okay.
and then tell us about how you became a financial strategist
Okay. So I
and
am.
what it is. And what
Okay.
it is.
Because that might be important.
Right.
Right. So I am a financial strategist, and I am also founder and CEO of the Amazing Woman Network. And how I got here, I always say it's my assignment. It wasn't something that I chose. It was me going through my own storm, divorce, mortgage industry crashing, meaning my business crashed, and everything that just came along with that. I wasn't accustomed to failure, and I don't know, at a place that I think, if I look back, I would say my rock bottom, maybe, and going back to God and saying, okay, this is not what my life is supposed to be like. What am I supposed to be doing? Use me as you see fit. And instantaneously, the downloads started happening. But one of those downloads was that I was supposed to empower and unite Black women globally. And I was like, are you kidding me? Like, did you not see what's happening in my world right now? And it was that seed that was planted then. It wasn't like, not right now, this second, but this is what you're supposed to do. And I then continued to walk through my own journey. And part of that was a financial journey. But the pillars of the Amazing Woman Network is reclaiming our personal power, mind, body, and spirit, as you know.
Yes.
Reclaiming our financial power and increasing our social involvement. So for me, going through my own financial storm and understanding after the fact, because I didn't understand it during, that I had to go through that in order to be able to empower other women, to be able to go back, enter their storm, grab their hand and pull them out.
Wow.
Because when you're in a storm, you don't always know how to get out of it.
Right.
But I think the other piece of that was I also needed to be empowered at that time. So empowering others, as they say, what's on your tongue for you first, right? And so being able to do that. So through all of that, became Crystal Gunn, the financial strategist as well. And so it's all things finance, credit, but I think one of the things that differentiates me from a lot of others is that we look past the numbers. Because there are reasons that you operate the way that you operate financially.
Right.
There are burdens and curses that we're carrying that when we start to pull back the layers and help you, as you would say, refine and redefine your financial relationship, you kind of realize, okay, wow, my financial relationship was really built by someone else, from my parents, from society, from others, from survival, from what has been handed down from generation to generation. So where we get the numbers and the credit and the banking and all of that right, we also unlearn those things that got you in that bad situation to begin with.
Wow.
Yeah.
So that's mindset shift.
Absolutely.
That's changing our habits. That's the thought, the word, and the deed, right?
Right.
It's the manifesting principles.
And making it a lifestyle.
Making it a lifestyle. That's awesome. That's awesome because we know we need that lifestyle change.
Yes.
We have habits, and so our habits move
Yes.
through a cycle, and some of us don't know that.
Right.
But our habits actually move through that cycle to get us to a lifestyle. So it didn't happen overnight.
No.
It happened with repeating the same kinds of things over and over again. So that's
Yes.
amazing.
Yes. And part of it too is I think going through that journey, when you deal with me, it's a no judgment zone. So people wind up just telling me everything and are like, oh God, I don't even know you. Why am I telling you all of this stuff? Because the energy that you receive, that you get, it's just like, I want to see you win. And I went through my own journey. So judge-free zone, and I'm really just here to empower and inspire and get you to have the financial relationship that you desire so that you can have the life that you deserve.
That's awesome. Can you tell us a little bit about wealth and wealth building in our community? Because we're talking about today the health and wellness and wealth in our community. How do we build that?
So I can't go down that road without taking one step back and giving a couple of I don't know, statistics or facts. There was a study that was done that said if the current financial trend continues, in the year 2053, despite the fact that people of color will be the majority population, blacks will have zero wealth.
Zero. Like in none?
None.
Wow.
Right. And within the last year, black spending power has increased to $1.4 trillion, but black net worth has decreased.
How is that possible?
Right. So we're earning more, but we're not keeping any of it.
Wow.
And when you look at every other ethnicity, they all have an economic plan. We don't have an economic plan, right?
What is an economic plan?
A way that our community is going to grow, build wealth, and then also for this lifetime, but also for generations to come. So how are we going to make our money? So you have the Asians with the nail salon, with the beauty supply stores. You have the Koreans with the nail salons, right? There is a certain, and I can't remember what nationality owns those motels that you see up and down Telegraph and all. That's what they do, right? And then the Arab and Chaldeans, a lot of them are now owning those Jiffy oil lube type things or whatever.
Okay.
So everyone else has an economic plan. We don't have an economic plan. However, we're part of everyone else's economic plan as consumers.
Right.
Yeah. So, and then when you think about it, we were targeted. They don't want us to have any wealth. It's not taught in schools. The generational curses, the things that have been passed down from generation to generation that we've had to operate out of survival mode. And I can't teach you what I don't know.
Right.
So all of that gets us here, and now everything that you watch, everything that you see says you have to drive this, you have to wear this, you have to have that, and social media says you're not doing anything right if you don't look this part. So we keep spending and spending and spending and never get a hold of our own finances. So
Wow.
right, and so 2053 on my watch can't happen. So everything that I do, a big part of that is pushing financially so that people can create the solid foundation. And what I've found over the years of doing this is we lack the basic foundation, right?
And what is that?
So we know we're supposed to have good credit, but we don't know how to get it, keep it, and utilize it. We don't know how to use credit, right? We know that we should save money, but we're saving it. If we're saving it in a bank account. We don't utilize strategists, advisors, because we think, oh, well, I don't have enough money for those type of people.
Right.
Well, if you don't have enough money for those type of people, you really need to have those type of people.
Wow. Right. Okay, that makes sense.
That makes sense, right? So if you don't have insurance, you know that you need insurance. You're not an agent. That means you know you need an insurance agent. So it's the same thing for health. If you got health issues, you're going to the doctor, right? But there's this thing that if I can, make others think that I'm successful, then if my DTE bill and my credit is jacked, then so that's putting our head in the sand. And for some reason in our community, we don't even like to talk about money. We don't want to have the conversations. We don't want to go out. When I ran a housing counseling agency, and this was in the height of the foreclosure season, we could not, churches would want to have foreclosure workshops in their, in their rec room or whatever. We couldn't even make a flyer that just said it was solely a foreclosure workshop because people wouldn't come, although they needed help, because they didn't want other people in the church to know that they were facing foreclosure. So we had to mask it as some sort of community event and have housing counselors, but the banks, and then, DTE or Consumers Energy. We had to have all of these other people so that, well, yeah, I'm going to go, but no one then really knows what I'm going for.
Where do you think that comes from? Where does that come
Well,
from?
it's one of those generational curses, right? What happens in this house?
All right, stays in the house. Stays in the house. Mindset shift.
Right.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
And that makes sense.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
So when we talk about those generational curses, when someone's saying, oh, well, such and such is the first person to go to college. Yeah, okay. Well, can we talk about those other things that keep us in bondage? Those are the things that we really need to talk about and really need to break.
Yes, indeed.
Yeah.
So my next question was actually going to be, what's your passion? But I think they kind of leaked all over this interview.
It just, yeah. If there was one thing that you could say that I'm most passionate about, it's this. We are in trouble. And I mean, it's going to take all hands on deck, and it's going to take people just really saying, we have to do something different. Not tomorrow. We got to do it today.
That's a great point. So we're starting today. So before I get into this next question, I want to take a pause because you have some tools and resources available. The Financially Flawless Questions, and this says Couple Edition, and the other book says For Single Moms. So tell us a little bit about these resources.
So both of them have over 60 questions that, and they're all financial questions that you need to address. Again, remember, we're not talking about finances. And if I don't know what I don't know what questions to ask.
Wow.
Right? So for the couples edition, if you're going into a relationship, if you're already in one, if now you're serious with someone and you're all talking about marriage. And again, even if you're already married, financial issues is the second cause of divorce after infidelity. So
good conversation.
So we need to be talking about it. And I say, this isn't just a shameless plug, but it's wedding season, and wedding season is coming up. And if you want to buy a gift or you're writing a check, this needs to be part of that gift, that couples edition, because they need to have those conversations. I even do premarital financial counseling.
Wow, now that's novel. I've not heard that before.
Yeah. Because we're not asking the questions, and some of them. So, if we get married, do we combine our money, keep it separate, or do we do a hybrid? Because remember, if I grew up in this household with all that I didn't learn or did learn, and you grew up in another one, I'm probably going to think that we think the same. But we don't. We absolutely don't. And then it becomes because this is society now, I'm right and you're wrong. No, we're just different. And you got to figure out how to come to terms and move along so that you don't wind up in divorce when you could have just had some conversations.
Can you give us another question for couples?
Yeah.
Because we're talking about community wellness, everybody. Community wellness. So we want to make sure that we're asking each other these questions, especially if you're a couple and a family. So please give us another question.
If one of us has debt and the other doesn't, does the debt become our debt, or does it stay my debt.
Ooh, is there a right answer? Is there an answer for that?
And so, you know what? So I just did a show the other day, and someone asked me some questions, and I said I probably, again, do things a little differently. I don't think there is a right answer. Mm-hmm. I think you have to be on the same page, though. Mm-hmm. And understand, right? Because I may go into it again assuming that, okay, now you're my husband, you're gonna absorb some of this debt too, where he's thinking,
right, no,
that's your debt. Like,
right.
I'm not doing that. So the conversation needs to be had so that you have one expectation and someone has another expectation. Now this person isn't meeting your expectation, but they really didn't even know you had that expectation.
Right. Oh, so as a two-time divorcee, my first marriage wasn't an issue of finances, but my second marriage was about finances, and we were in business together. And so that if I had that book, right? Mm-hmm. If I had that book probably before the journey, because there were a lot of things that we didn't know about each other financially.
Right.
A lot of assumptions, just like you mentioned, a lot of assumptions. And, that really it did have a bearing on our divorce.
It does, because you then start to argue, you have these expectations that aren't met. And then, it's then the water seeping into the cracks and then just widening the crack, and which ultimately could lead to divorce. So
yes. Wow. Mm-hmm. That's pretty powerful. Okay, so tell us a little bit about the one for single moms.
So single mothers has some questions in it. Some of the same questions, because some of the same things you're supposed to, go through. Right. But single mothers, Black single mothers, are on the bottom rung of the wealth ladder.
How is that possible? I mean, what contributes to that?
Well,
what do you think contributes to that?
We have to understand that if I have two couples in a household and I got two breadwinners, well, now I got two salaries. If somebody makes 60 and somebody makes 40, now we got $100,000. If you leave and I make 6 and you made 60, now I just have 40. Even if you're paying, I don't know, $1,000 a month in child support, it's still not the same as having that 60 in that house, right? So now it's one breadwinner. And we always talk about multiple streams of income. However, it's one breadwinner. And so I wound up being a single mother because we got divorced. And, my husband and I have the best relationship. And we co-parent really, really well. But it was that impact. I was the only breadwinner now. And although he did great with taking care of and other responsibilities, and but still, I was the only one. So that wealth isn't the same. It's not. So many times, especially in our community, we think, oh, I just love this person's death. I want to get married. Mm-hmm. Okay, but it is also a business.
Right.
Right.
That is the truth.
And if it's the same thing if we brought two businesses together, we've increased our wealth, right? We've increased the value of our business as well. So if one bank buys this bank, now it's a bigger bank.
Right.
Well, if I got one salary plus another salary, now we got more income. Now we can ultimately build more wealth. So just that one. And the second rung from the bottom is single Black fathers with children in multiple homes. Right. I thought you would appreciate that.
Yes, indeed. Yes, yeah. Indeed.
So it's some questions, and we know we've had these, and it's not the case for everybody, but do you have a financial plan for your children? The breakup from your children's father was tough. What was the cause, and how did it hurt you, and how has it impacted your finances?
Right.
Right. And so now what are you seeing? Are you mad now when you don't let the children see the father? Which then leads to some other issues. So again, how has the breakup impacted your financial relationship, and how does that impact the kids' relationships with you, and what are we teaching them, again, to be handed down to the next generation?
This is amazing. So I mentioned that I have been divorced twice and I am married again. So this is my third marriage. And on our agenda, we celebrate our monthly anniversary on the 24th. And each anniversary, we try to do something different for learning and gaining together. So for this is my gift to my husband for our 24 months so that we can go through this process and ask the questions because you're right. You don't know what questions to ask. You don't know that you don't know until you know.
Right.
So now we're going to know, and we're going to know better. So we also need to know, how do we get in touch with Crystal L. Gunn? How do we get these resources?
crystalgunn.com. So CRYSTAL, G like George, UNN.com. And you can also give me a call, 313-410-8260.
Okay, so I'm going to try to leave a few minutes so that you can repeat that. So
Yeah.
if you didn't have a pen and paper, you need to get that, but you also need to get some of these books, so get familiar with the title and the cover. This is Becoming Financially Flawless. Do you want to tell us quickly about that?
Sure. So it's a 40-day workbook for women. It is really what I went through when I went through my storm, and I just took those practices in tasks and put them in a workbook. And Flawless is actually an acronym and an affirmation. Financially literate, amazing women learning economic success strategies.
Wow. But you can't say that 3 times.
No, not fast. You absolutely cannot. But we need
Right.
to be able to speak it and know that where you are today financially isn't your end. You
Right.
can create the financial relationship that you want. You just ultimately need some help. We don't want to talk about it, but we have to talk about
We
it.
have to talk about
Yeah.
it. And I just want to encourage you, as Crystal mentioned before, that we seek a medical professional when we're having health challenges. We seek, when we want to have new recipes or we want to know something, we Google,
Yes.
right? So we know that we're supposed to be looking up things and trying to find the best solution to our individual situations. And that she mentioned that you don't have to be financially well off to have a financial strategist or have the conversation. So let us shift our mindset. Let us start to look for what we need. And Crystal presented herself as a resource. She gave us a phone number. She gave us a website. She gave us tools to be able to use as a reference. Remember, this show, we're talking about community wellness. And today we're talking about how do we build our wealth. So we need this opportunity to start building that mindset shift in order to build the type of wealth that we're seeking. So I want to thank you for being here today, Crystal.
Absolutely.
I mean, just anytime I have a chance to talk to you, it's always amazing and enlightening. So I just want to thank you for that. I want to encourage our viewers that if you are interested in advertising on Expose Under the Sun, that is with me, Heather Heteru, or Darwin Griffin, who shows up our next Tuesday, that we cover every Tuesday at 2:30. So we're looking forward to having you back and listening for us for our next exciting adventure. And then I want to leave you with our, if you're looking for advertising, please reach out to Valerie. And Valerie is also the sponsor, Detroit Native Sun News is the sponsor of Expose Under the Sun. But if you want to advertise both in the newspaper and or on this show, please reach out to Valerie at 313-457-5944. Again, that's Valerie at 313-457-5944. And I am your personal change coach, Heather Heteru. If any of the shows you want information about or our guests or tools and resources, please also reach out to me. You can reach me at yourinspiredjourney.com, or you can call me at my business line at 313-759-7855. And if you're more daring, you can reach out to me via email at heather@yourinspiredjourney.com. So if you can't find me in any of those ways, you can always go to Google. Find me on Google,
Right.
Heather Heteru Miller. So look for me there. So I am just excited about one, making my purchase, because I have my workbook.
You have the workbook.
I have my workbook.
Yes.
So I'm working through some of my issues again because it wasn't something that we talked about in my
Right.
family, in our household. So I'm having to reprogram my thinking, my mindset around wealth building because we have children and now grandchildren.
And our grandchildren.
We have to start planning for our future and theirs in a real and meaningful way. So part of that is we don't change our mindset. They can't change
They
theirs.
can't.
We're not giving them what they need to be able to change and grow in the ways that they need to. So that's really important for us to be able to connect that way. So give us your information one more time.
Telephone number 313-410-8260, 313-410-8260. And my website is crystalgunn.com. CRYSTALGUNN. That's G like God, womannet.com.
All right. And that's amazing. And so your journey and your story, I know it's so much more your background. Is that information on your website as well?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay. So,
Yes.
Okay, so that's awesome. So we'll be able to learn more about you,
Yes.
all the tools and things that are available for not just your resources and financial strategies, but also Amazing Woman.
Correct.
Yes. So we'll be able
Absolutely.
to connect with you on all those
Yes.
ways.
Oh, yes. And I'm sorry. AmazingWomanNetwork.com. And it's WOMAN. That was a polite way for you to tell me.
Thank you. And we thank you for joining us today, and we look forward to our next episode. And be safe, and remember, this is about community wellness. This is about manifesting this year the things that you want. So speak only what you want, not what you don't.
Yes.
Let it manifest, let it come to pass. The thought, word, and a deed. And thank you again. This is Heather Heteru, your co-host for Expose Under the Sun. Thank you.